hello to a little impromptu video. I was not planning on filming today, however I had this idea that since the Netherlands and the Dutch weather specifically are the gift that keeps giving when it comes to gloomy, disgusting weather, I can wear Decade one more time. And the reason I want to wear Velvet Decade, in case people are not following, I'm talking about the lipstick Velvet Decade from Lisa Eldridge. This shade right here, the most delicious deep chocolate brown lipstick, because I remain deeply intrigued by the bronzer in the shade Bronze Mahogany from the newest release from Pat McGrath Labs. And I had this epiphany, guys. I was like, why am I so deeply attracted to this Bronze Mahogany shade? And it finally dawned on me. Because these are essentially the same thing, but then in a different product. This is the lipstick, this is the bronzer version of this lipstick. They both have these neutral plummy tones to them. They're both in the same color family, and I just have to see how they look together. So I'm going to start doing my makeup. I'm going to take my Inglot eyeshadow keeper here. And I don't know why it didn't occur to me earlier. Like, I've been looking at this bronzer for the longest time and I've been mystified this whole time. What is it about this bronzer that I find so deeply attractive? Because it is not a shade that is technically meant for me. And at first I thought it's because it has like more like red tones to it. But honestly, once I swatched it out and I swatched it against other products in my collection, I quickly realized there is a bit of a red hint in there, but honestly, what really overpowers the undertones of this bronzer are those plum shades. And as soon as I thought of those plum shades, it immediately became clear to me. Oh, Velvet Decade. The connection was instantly made. I don't know how I felt to make that earlier. I'm going to take the Too Faced Fluff and Brow Laminating Brow Waxing. So that's what we're doing today. I'm wearing one of my most cool toned sweaters with gray trousers. We're just going for full-on vibe here. I think I'm going to do a combo of the Divine Rose 1 palette and the Sid Seduction, like one of the neutrals in Sid Seduction, because I've been talking about those neutrals so much, but I don't know that I ever did a look with either of them on my channel, or if I have, I already blanked about it. I've been really enjoying my Chanel Complexion Touch foundation, Water Fresh Complexion Touch, so I'm going to also do that for my foundation today. And I've mentioned recently that I've been really enjoying wearing my foundations again with a sponge, but I think this specific formula really requires a brush, or at least I find it easier to work with a brush because of the little like pigment balls which are dispensed in water. I just think it's so much easier to break down those balls with a foundation brush than with the sponge. Also, I've been thinking, since I'm struggling so much to find a concealer that really works for me, I've been thinking, what if I were to get one of those Chanel products, the same product that I'm wearing on my face right now, but in a lighter shade to use as a concealer instead of a foundation, because this is a really beautiful and like very hydrating formula. Definitely not the kind of formula that dries out my skin or grabs onto any sort of like dry patches. I am going to do a little mixy mix of my Huda concealer together with the Lancome Teint Idol again, because I keep trying to make fetch happen with this concealer, and I will just keep trying until I give up or I make it work, or I don't know. I refuse to throw it away because it's way too expensive for that. I'm just, by the way, mixing the two shades here, and I'm putting a little bit more of the lighter shade together with the dark just to make a color that works for me. And this is a lot of product right now. Not all of this is going to go on my under eyes. Just a tiny bit of that is going to go on my under eyes. I don't know what it is about concealers that just doesn't work with the skin under my eyes, but I feel like maybe this complexion touch thing from Chanel could be a contender for something of a hydrating concealer for me. And because it has the coverage, that's what I like about it. If it was something that had barely any coverage to it, it would be very hard to use as a concealer because it wouldn't do anything. But because it has coverage to it and it's so hydrating, I feel like maybe it will work. Also, this may not at all be the genius idea that I thought it is, and maybe some of you have already tried it that way, in which case I'm very intrigued to hear your opinion. Does it work? I'm going to set everything with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush, whatever it's called, powder. Back to Bronze Mahogany. I'm going to take once again the absolute tiniest bit, because it is always better to start off a little bit more gently when you're going in with a powder which is clearly not meant for your skin tone. I think the shade Nude Honey, the first one in the range that I purchased, at least it's the second one technically in the range, but the first one for me because I don't have the absolute lightest shade. That one I can go a little bit more ham with, but this and Desert Glow I need to start off with small increments and just build up. Okay, now that I'm wearing this sweater, I already like it a lot more because it's almost a little bit more cool neutral than it is a warm neutral. This is more of a, I don't know, neutral leaning cool shade. Especially now that I'm wearing it with this sweater, I'm really appreciating that undertone a little bit better. I don't know what you think. Also, I would be very intrigued to hear from people of deep skin tones. This shade, how does it translate on you? Is it like a... does it serve the same purpose as nude, the nude one serves for me? So like a cool / neutral bronzer kind of shade? Or do you actually use it for... Does it look warmer on your skin tone? Does it pull a bit more red, rich, warm? Or is it actually like a bronzer shade for you? One of you had the brilliant idea to pair this bronzer with Rosy Beige from Gucci, and I do completely agree that that is an absolutely brilliant pairing. So we are going to try that because I feel like the tones of this is going to work really well together. Oh, it is. It's looking beautiful. I really like this combination right now. It's going to work really well with my regular good old neutral cool bronzer type bronzers. But in terms of like how I would really like to wear this bronzer, I think it's for this kind of look. I don't know that I would really get a lot of use out of Bronze Mahogany in the summer months. Although, I must admit, I'm a bit intrigued how that shade is going to look like when I tan. Because I tend to tan quite yellow, so I have absolutely no idea what the shade is going to do on me once I tan. Obviously, keeping in with those delicious cooler tones, I'm going to take Lunar... what is this called? Lunar Nude. So many lunar things in her collection, it's hard to keep track. I'm going to take this highlighter to complete this very, very neutral / cool toned cheek product situation. I've zoomed you in a little bit and let's do the eye look. Now, I probably have mentioned this before, but the reason I bought this sweater is because I really wanted to have a piece of clothing that really screams Divine Rose 1 palette. And I have to say this was a very successful endeavor because I wore the Divine Rose 1 palette so much throughout this past winter because I could pair it with this sweater. It's exactly what we're going to do today, or at least partly. I'm going to start with this shade, the shade Velouria here, for the obvious reason that it is literally the color of my sweater. And then I'm going to, I think, do I dare? Why not? I think I'm actually going to use Bronze Mahogany also to deepen out my outer corners. I'm just going to go for like this whole brown chocolate mahogany type of vibe. I'm going to use this shade to deepen out my outer corners. And then on my lids, I am going to do a little bit of mixy mix of this shade in the outer portion of the lid, together with the sparkly shade, one of the sparkly neutral shades in the Sid Seduction Quint. So, oops, this one right here on the inner portion of my lid. Although I must be honest with you, I'm also really tempted to just use this shade all over my lid. So I might change my mind last minute. We're just going to start and see where we go. I will talk about this in my monthly roundup and empties, but I wanted to mention it again because I think it's quite striking now. So I mentioned in my previous roundup and empties that I wasn't sure whether my lash growth serum was doing much, especially much that could be seen by the naked eye. However, I've started getting compliments on my lashes and people commenting that they look longer. So I think if other people are starting to comment on the state of my lashes, that serum is definitely doing something. And I've also noticed, especially with the eyelashes on this eye here, they definitely look longer than they used to. Like on this eye, I can't really tell yet because also on this eye my lashes are a little bit more like cow straight. Well, not cow straight completely, but they're a little bit straighter, so it's a bit harder to tell. But on this side they have a bit of like a natural curl, and I can definitely tell something is going on. And from what I can tell, I still have a lot of product left in the tube, so it could be that when I started using the product I just wasn't using enough. Now I'm a lot more generous with the amount of the lash serum that I apply, because I go ham on the upper side of my lashes and I also try to push it a little bit underneath here. It doesn't cause any irritation or anything, so that's why I'm being so brave about it. In the beginning I was still a bit more apprehensive because I just didn't know whether it would cause irritation, whether it would have any like unknown effects, and I didn't want to inflame my eyes. But now that I've used the product for quite a while, I can confidently say that it does something, and I should probably just have been using a bit more from the get-go. I'm going to leave it at that with Velouria, and now I'm going to take a somewhat smaller brush. This one is from Sonia G. I think this is the Crease Pro. Yeah, this is the Crease Pro. And I'm going to take a little bit of Bronze Mahogany and see how that looks like here on the outer edges of the eye. It's actually working very well with the undertones of Velouria, which I think is interesting because it really shows you that this bronzer doesn't really have that much warmth to it. It's really much more of a neutral cool than it is anything else, because otherwise it would clash a lot with Velouria. Velouria is very cool toned. On me, Velouria is like almost gray lavender. So now I'm going to take a little bit of the NYX Glitter Glue, and oh, I still can't decide what I want to do on my lids. I feel like we need to take a little bit of the lavender sparkly shade from Midnight Sun, from Divine Rose, but also I just really like that shade from Sid Seduction. Decisions. Okay, let's do this. I mean, they do look pretty together, no? You know what? I'm going to apply a little bit of this shade, which right now I'm blanking on the name of, even though I know it very well because it's my favorite shade in this eyeshadow palette. Lovelace, of course. This is the shade Lovelace. So I'm applying Lovelace here in the outer portion of the eye because it just fits so perfectly with this look, and I can't have it any other way. However, I am going to shove the shade from Sid Seduction on the rest of the lid because that shade is also really beautiful. I'm going to just take it on with a flat shader brush like this and very gently swipe it across the lid. I know swiping doesn't sound like the logical thing to do here, but it works better with this shade. Oh, they actually work quite nicely together. And of course this wouldn't be a Mariam look if you didn't put a little bit of sparkle on. So I'm going to take a few flakes of Astral Solstice and I'm going to apply them right here onto the more like center portion of the lid. No need to go overboard, the other two shades are already beautiful and slightly sparkly as it is. On my lower lashes, I'm actually just going to run a little bit more of Bronze Mahogany to tie this whole look together. You know what Bronze Mahogany reminds me of? The matte shade in the matte brown in Utopian Dream. I feel like it has the exact same undertones. Oh gosh, I hope they're not the same thing. Okay, at least visually in the pan they don't seem to be similar. But I'm going to swatch them. Okay, Bronze Mahogany, shade from Utopia. I think shade from Utopia has a bit more red to it. But let's see. Bronzer, eyeshadow. Oh yeah. The shadow has a little bit more, I don't know, warmth to it compared to Mahogany. I usually do my lips off camera, but I feel like today you need to be a part of the magic. I'm first going to take my MAC Lip Prime. I always prime my lips. It just helps with longevity, with the texture on my lips, with stuff staying within my lip lines. I can't recommend this enough. Next I'm going to take Velvet Decade, the lip liner. Okay, well, I mean, the look speaks for itself. Don't all of these products just work perfectly together? The eyes tied in with the cheeks, tied in with that lipstick. Tell me there's another word for it rather than brilliant. And I don't want to toot my own horn here. I was just kind of like going off the colors and how they would match up together based on their undertones. So I just basically followed the breadcrumbs. Tell me what you think about this look. As usual, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see each other again very, very soon. Bye!